Everyone thought she was just another civilian lost on base. But when she handed over her ID, the silence that followed could have stopped time itself. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. The air was crisp that morning, the kind that carried authority. At the main gate of Fort Dawson, two young guards stood straight in their pressed uniforms, scanning IDs, exchanging polite but firm greetings. It was routine, mechanical, predictable, until the black sedan rolled to a stop. The driver's window lowered, revealing a woman in her late 40s. Calm eyes, perfectly measured tone. "Good morning, gentlemen." Private Jenkins, the newer of the two guards, glanced at her and frowned slightly. Something didn't add up. She wasn't wearing a visible badge or base sticker. Regulations were clear. No badge, no entry. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said, polite but firm. "This area is restricted. You'll need to turn around." She smiled faintly. "I believe I have authorization." She reached into her purse. Careful, deliberate. Jenkins' hand instinctively hovered near his sidearm. Protocol drilled into him by weeks of training. The older guard, Sergeant Lewis, noticed. "Ma'am, please keep your hands visible." Her eyes met his, steady, unwavering. "Of course." She pulled out a leather case and flipped it open. But before either man could react, a convoy of black SUVs appeared down the road, approaching fast, dust swirling behind them. Jenkins stepped back, tensing. "Sir, we weren't notified of any VIP movement today." Lewis's radio crackled to life. "Attention, Gate 1, hold position. VIP arrival confirmed." "Repeat, hold position." Both guards froze. "VIP arrival? Now." The woman looked almost amused. "You might want to let them through," she said softly. Moments later, the SUV screeched to a halt beside her car. Men in formal uniforms jumped out, forming a perfect line. The door to the lead vehicle opened, and out stepped the base's command sergeant major, saluting sharply toward the woman in the sedan. The younger guard's face went pale. "Sir, what's going on?" Lewis swallowed hard. He already knew. The woman opened her door, stepped out, and returned the salute with a crisp precision that carried decades of experience. Her coat shifted in the wind, revealing 4 silver stars on her shoulders. The air went silent. Even the hum of the gate motors seemed to stop. General Elena Rains, the new commanding officer of Fort Dawson, the woman Jenkins had just denied entry to. The silence broke, with the sound of her heels clicking against the pavement. "At ease," she said calmly. The guards obeyed, too stunned to move properly. She looked at them for a long moment, not with anger, but with thought. "Protocol is good. Discipline even better. But next time, don't forget to balance it with respect and awareness." Jenkins opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. "It's all right, Private," she added. "You followed your training. That's more than most do when pressure hits." Lewis exhaled, tension melting away, but the weight of the moment lingered. Around them, base personnel had begun to gather near the gate, whispering, trying to process what they were seeing. The young guard who had stopped the base commander, as the general walked past. The base seemed to hold its breath. The wind carried the faint scent of jet fuel and pine. Familiar, grounding, but somehow charged with something new. I in the control tower nearby. A junior officer whispered. "She's the one from Blackwater Ridge. The one who led the evac." Another nodded. "They said she retired." "She did," someone replied quietly. Until now. Inside the base, word spread faster than radio chatter. By noon, the whole installation knew the story. Some laughed, some couldn't believe it, and others, the ones who remembered her from before, just smiled. For General Rains, it wasn't about making an entrance. She hadn't returned for glory. She had come back for something deeper. The last time she'd stood on that ground, it had been under a different kind of sky. Smoke, sirens, loss. She had commanded the evacuation during the storm that nearly wiped out half the base 8 years ago. And when the dust cleared, she'd taken the blame for every soldier who didn't make it. Even though she'd saved hundreds, she resigned quietly. No interviews, no ceremony, just a folded flag left on her desk. Until now. That evening, Jenkins couldn't shake the image of her calm face from his mind. He found himself standing near the barracks courtyard, watching the sunset spill gold over the parade grounds. Private Jenkins. He turned and froze. She was there, walking toward him. Alone. No entourage. Ma'am. He snapped to attention, heart racing. At ease, she said again. I thought I'd find you here. I'm sorry, ma'am, for earlier. I didn't mean, she held up a hand. Don't apologize for doing your duty. You saw something that didn't fit protocol, and you acted. That's how good soldiers start. He blinked, unsure how to respond. She looked out toward the horizon, where the last rays of sunlight brushed against the flagpole. When I was your age, I stopped a colonel once, she said softly. Didn't recognize him out of uniform. He thanked me for my caution. Said it meant I'd never overlook a threat. Her voice carried something deeper, a quiet ache. The kind that comes from seeing too much and still standing tall. Jenkins finally asked, Why'd you come back, ma'am? She smiled faintly. Because I owe this base something. And maybe it owes me a second chance too. The following week, the entire base gathered for the formal ceremony. Rows of soldiers stood in formation under the morning sun, boots aligned, flags waving gently. The band's instruments gleamed like mirrors. General Rains stepped up to the podium. For a moment, she just looked at them. Hundreds of faces, young and old, hopeful and hardened. When I left this post years ago, she began, I thought leadership was about being unbreakable, about never showing fear or weakness. But time taught me something else. True command isn't about being untouchable. It's about standing with your people, even when it hurts. You could hear a pin drop. She scanned the crowd, her gaze landing briefly on Jenkins. And sometimes, it's the newest guard at the gate who reminds you what duty really looks like. A ripple of quiet pride passed through the ranks. Jenkins swallowed hard, his eyes stinging. The general placed her cap back on her head, squared her shoulders, and gave one final salute, not as a symbol of authority, but as a promise that TO lead differently this time. TO serve, not command. When the ceremony ended, the base felt changed, not because of the new commander's rank, but because of the quiet lesson she'd brought with her, that respect runs both ways. Jenkins returned to his post that evening. As cars rolled by, he stood taller, calmer. When a civilian nurse pulled up and nervously searched for her badge, he smiled gently and said, Take your time, ma'am. The world hadn't changed, but he had. Bold truth line. Because real leadership isn't about power, it's about presence, compassion, and the courage to listen. Poetic closing line. And sometimes, the gate that stops you is the same one that welcomes you home again. Outro. If this story moved you, share it with someone who believes in second chances. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what does true leadership mean to you? I read every word.